Masechta with the zara daf tezayin number aleph. We're starting from Tes Vav, the base 9 lines from the bottom. Had said just like it's forbidden to sell weapons to a guy, it's forbidden to sell to a Yiddish rabbi. In fact, how is it talking about either chash de katel if the Yiddish rabbi is suspected of killing pshita? Then it said of a pashi, not allowed to sell him neshek, weapons. This is just like selling to a guy who would kill, like katel. And if it's talking about he's not chash on killing, am I like? Why shouldn't you be able to sell him armor? I mean, weapons. He's not going to harm anybody. Really, we're talking about listing that are not chosher robbers, that are not chosher on killing. Over here, it's talking about bimash moita, by a ganev who steals money from the owners. The zimn and the avlat. And sometimes the owners will run after him to try to save their money, so he's going to have to defend himself. So he might not kill the victim, but he's going to cause the victim to lose money, and sometimes he can kill the victim also. You cannot sell shields. Others say you could sell shields. My time, what's the reason it's forbidden to sell them shields? Because it protects the goyim. If it's something that protects the goyim, even wheat and barley should not be mutter to sell them, because these things give them chayas, give them life. I've explained, answered, that's impossible to not sell them chitim without awakening hatred. Hachinami, so too, it's a right to sell them. Really, we shouldn't sell them the chitim only because of Eva we sell them, but benegeya to ammunition or weapons, there's not going to be any hatred. Therefore, if you don't sell them, therefore we don't sell them. But really, we shouldn't be able to sell chitim Seirim either. It's just because of awakening a hatred against the Yidden. Ikidami, others say, today's naming time of the light. By shields, this is the reason. The chishilim zinayu, when their weapons are gone, are depleted, katlu b'gavai, they're going to kill with these shields. Others say, you are allowed to sell them shields. Because when their weapons are depleted, merak arke, they're going to just run away. They're not going to use the shields as weapons. Halacha ki yashemim. Nachman said the name of Rabbi Baravua. The halacha is like the yashemim that you're allowed to sell. Maginim, that you're allowed to sell shields to goyim. Avad said, you're not allowed to sell to the goyim ashashiyas thick pieces of shabaz of metal. My time, what's the reason? Mishum the because they're going to bang it and flatten it out into clay zayin, into weapons. In fact, so even hoes and axes, adjets, the things that smoothen out wood, also shouldn't be allowed, since the goyim can flatten these things and make it into weapons. It's talking about by Indian iron, which is only used for weapons. But today there comes about mizab ninon. Today, when in fact we do sell the iron from India to the goyim. Why is this permitted? The magni lavan, that it's only the iron. These iron from India, you sell it to the Persians because the Persians defend us. And he brings down in the Hara that they were defending the Yidden, who a lot of them lived in Persia. We learned in the Mishnah, Agolim usyachim, Agolim calves, and syachim are young donkeys. So we learned shleimim ushvurim, whether they're healthy or the shvurim, the maimed. So Rabbi Yehuda allows selling in the case of maimed animals. So the Gemara brings a brayse that explains the machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. Time we learned in the brayse. Rabbi Yehuda mate b'shvur. Rabbi Yehuda is mate by behema, which is maimed, to sell it to a goy. Because it cannot be healed from the makabel lichyos and live like a healthy animal. So you find that this animal will never be fit to do any work. So the whole purpose of the whole Isser is because if it does do work, the Yid it will be over on Shvisas Behema, because if he sells, he'll come to rent it, and he'll come to lend it out, or sometimes they'll come to test it out when he sells it right before Shabbos, like we learned yesterday. Therefore, if it's maimed and you can't do any work, so then you're allowed the guy you're allowed to sell it to a guy, because the behemoth is going for shchita. Said, they could hold on to these maimed animals because they could have these animals give birth to children. They keep them mabin aleha. Since these animals can give birth, so he'll hold on to these animals. So one who will see it in the rishus of a guy will conclude betos and say, you're allowed to sell a healthy behemoth gasa to a guy. You just said, what are you talking about? When it gives birth, then you can ask the mechir, meaning it'll never give birth. So therefore, people will not come to this mistake. So the Gemara concludes, so we see from here, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, a behemoth that's maimed, will not be able to have a zacha to live with it, because it won't be able to absorb the pain of a zacha living with it. Bem say the mater in the Mishnah, we concluded that Bem Seida is mater to sell a behemoth gasa if it's bisus, if it's a horse, because a horse there's no isa daraisa, because it doesn't do real work, because it's only a horse is made to ride on it. Riding on it is not a isa, because a chay naisa satzma. Zok you maratan we learned the brayse Bem Seida mater bisus, Bem Seida is mater with a horse, because a sus is not, it does a malacha which you're not going to be chai b'chatas, because riding is not a malacha, and the person riding on it is not the animal is not being over on his malacha, because the chai neis satzma. Rabbi Asa selling susim mipnei shnei dvarim because of two reasons. Echad mishum teres kli zayin, one because the horse is used as a weapon. Echad mishum teres behema gasa. One is because of Behemoth Gasa, and the Gemara will explain later on. Says Gemara Bishlema, Teiras Kli Zayin. I understand that it's used as a weapon, because there are such susim that when a person is on the floor, the sus takes its foot and bangs with its hooves on the head of the person, and sichufim means a kais that's upside down, and it means like a kais, when it's upside down, it looks like a hoof, which falls on the head and bangs on the head of the person who's lying down. What is the Indian of teres behema? What does that mean? That how can I have teres behema? There's no malach being done like by a regular behema. And when the sus becomes old and he's not able to do any riding anymore, so there it's shayach that matchina b'rechaim Shabbos, that you can come to do a malacha on Shabbos. They take the horse and they make the horse run around in a circle to grind the wheat by a millstone. So it is shayach like a regular behemoth gasa. Amar Rabbi Yechon halacha kibem seida, who's mater all mechinas susim to a goy. Yibayilahu, the Gemara had asked a shayla, shay shalpatem, a shay that was fattened, that for selling, and it's very fat, and it's not ready to do any malacham. So what's going to be the thing? So is it motive to sell to a guy or not? To buy Rabbi Yehuda, to buy Rabbi Yechon. You can ask Shaila Saya according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and Saya according to the opinion of Rabbi who argued. To buy Rabbi Yehuda, it's a Shaila and Rabbi Yehuda. Shat kan like Shadi and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda wasn't matter to sell a behema gasa to a guy, ela behema shvura, only by a maim behema. The layas ilachal malacha, that is not able to ever come to do a malacha. And that's why Vadai, the Evtichab who buys it is only Lishchita. But in the case of fattening the animal, the Chimashile, if the Kaina wants, he can hold on to it till it becomes lean and then start doing Malacha, Asla Kla Malacha. Then it can come to do Malacha. So Rabbi Yehuda will be Meida, Sha'asa, it's forbidden to sell to a guy because we're concerned that the buyer might hold on to this animal till it becomes lean. And through this, whoever sees it in the guy Shirishus will learn from it that you're allowed to sell a behemah to a guy. And why would the guy wait it out? We'll see later on, because it makes it, once an animal is fat and then it became lean, it could do double the amount of work than an animal that was lechatchila lean. Or perhaps, even according to Rabbanan, we could say loikasi asam ela the stomach lam l'shchita kai. Says there when the chum asa only in a case where the behemah was maimed, because shestama it's shestama it's not oimed l'shchita because it's lean because of its shvira, because it's maimed. So therefore we say that the kaina will hold on to it for to have babies. But in the case where the animal was fattened, the stomach l'shchita kai, there we know it's only for shchita. That's why he fattened it. So I'll feel Rabbanan Shari over there. Maybe the chacham will be matter. When it's maimed, we'll say no, it's not l'shchita. He's probably going to hold on to it till it has children. But when it's fattened, you know it was fattened for a reason, to be able to sell it. Toshma. So the Gemara tries to answer this kasha. Let's come in here, and I'll bring you a raya that mechiz behemahs that are fattened. You're not allowed to sell it to a guy. From who was from the day by that they would bring as a tax and a matana to the melech sheishal patam of a fattened ox b'yom edan on the day of the chagah of the goy. One of the years. Now there's no Easter bringing on the chagah there, because for many reasons. For two reasons, we'll say. Why? Because bringing the shayr was a set tax, so they're not going to thank for getting the shayr because it was a set tax. That's why they were getting it. Or mitzad behemoths, they can have other behemoths. They don't need this behemoth. So Rabbi took out 40,000 coins as a sheikhad, as bribing the mishpach of the melucha. In order that the house of a rabbi shouldn't have to bring the tax on the day of the chagah. Only that they should be able to bring it the next day. Then the following year, they gave again 40,000 coins, like sheikhad as bribery to the mishpach of the melucha, that they shouldn't have to bring the fattened cow or the fattened calf alive. Only that they should be able to bring it dead and slaughtered. In the third year, the following year, they brought another 40,000 coins. They said that they shouldn't have to bring the fattened shayr kolik at all. In fact, but in my time, what is the reason that Rabbi wanted to bring the fattened cow when it's shachud and not chai? La mishum, is it not because it's us lahavi to a goy, a fattened cow? That's why they paid 40,000 coins. That they shouldn't have to bring a fattened live cow. Because if they give a live fattened cow, they'll come to hold on to it till it lose weight, and then they'll do malacha with it, and that's the Isser that they'll come to the Isser shvisas behema. So the Gemara shlugs up this eye. According to your svara, that the reason of Rabbi is because it's a Isser. Why did they have to make that it should be? They give 40,000 coins that it shouldn't be sacrificed today, only for the next day. That they shouldn't have to, meaning that he shouldn't have to bring the fattened shayr that day of the chagah. Only the next day there was no Isa mitzad the chagah, like we said before, because it was a tax. They would never thank the getchka for it, and they had other animals. So why did they push it off for the next day? It was a different reason behind it. Rabbi wanted to uproot this whole tax, the yearly tax of the king, not because there was Isa, but Saba Yakir, the Asi Purta, and he had in mind that he's going to uproot it every year. He couldn't say L'chatchila no tax. He weakened that yearly tax to be pushed off a day. It should be brought shachut, and then to uproot it completely. Is it if the David Yechab will hold on to the shayr, the fattened shayr alive, it's going to become stronger and do malacha? What's going on? So why would he hold on to it till it gets thinner? Who says it's going to be up to do malacha? With the fattening behemoths, they hold on to the fat behemoth till it becomes lean, and it's able to do double the amount of the malacha. Sagt die Gemara, sagt die Mishnah, ein meichin lahem dem marayes. We are not allowed to sell to a goy bears and lions. And anything that contains a potential damage, injury to the public. Ein meichin in Mahem Basilti, we don't build towers or garden, also is like a building from which they would throw down people to kill them, to punish them. Itztadya is plazas in which they would do like have animals chase the person to kill him, like in the Colosseums, ubima, and platforms. These are places in which they hurt people. But you can build bimyusayis are he says it's buildings. You can build with them. I'm sorry, not building. You can build with them like a mizbeach. They would build like a place where they would be sacrifice the animals there, but it wasn't the getchke itself. It was a service for the getchke. Ubeis machatzoyis and bathhouses. Higila kippah. Nevertheless, when one reaches to the place, or meaning the poil who builds the merchatz, and now he's up to building a dome. Over there, they were rugged a place. The getchke also lived nice. For that, it was forbidden to build a dome. So the Gemara, Amar Rav Chanan Rav Chizda, the Amrullah, Amar Rav Chanan Rav Amarav, Hoya Gasa Harei Kibei Madaka, Chaya Gasa Harei Kibei Madaka, Chaya Gasa. It has a din like Behema Daka, Rak lepichas, only for pichas. Pichas is when they shech the animal stretches his hand. So if it's a behemoth daka, it has to be able to bring back the hand, then you know it's not treif. But if it only stretches the hand and it doesn't, after the shechita, and it doesn't bring back its hand from the nerves, then you know it's a sick animal, it's a treifa. So he says a behemoth, a chaya gasa, also only has to do both ways, stretch out a hand and bring it back. Then we know it's not a treifa. But if it only stretches out his hand, a chaya gasa, it has a din like behemoth daka that it's not going to be good. But by mechira it doesn't have a din like a behemoth daka. Meaning, selling a chaya gasa has a din like a behemoth gasa, which is forbidden to sell. Zog the Gemara, and I say after mechira, and I say, says Rav Chanan Rav Chizda or Rav Chanan Bar Abba, that this hayrav that was said in the name of Rav, I say that a chaya gasa has a thing like a behemoth daka, even lemechira, meaning that it's totally b'minig hamakim. The makshin al gulim kein meichen. In a place where you have a minig to sell to a guy, you sell it. Makshin shleilim kein. In the place where they have a minig not to sell, ain't meichen, you don't sell. So if anybody wants to bring a raya to Rav Chana, Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, you don't sell to goyim bears and lions, not anything that could injure people. Time and the whole reason that it's forbidden to sell a chayagasa of this kind, these pain, that's going to happen because it has damages larabim. But it's mashma if there is no nezek going to happen, like aryeh, a lion that's tamed, that grew up in a house and is melumad not to do. It was trained not to do any harm. A tamed abu chaya shari. You're allowed to sell to a guy. Because the only reason was, it seemed like because of injuring the rabbin. But if it's a tamed and a domestic, turn it into a domestic chaya, then you're allowed to sell it. So here you have a raya from the Mishnah, according to Rav Chanan, that a chaya gas has a din like the behemoth daka is a kasher Rav who says you're never allowed to sell a chaya gas to a goy. He says, I'll knock off, I'll slug up the saya. This that the Mishnah said, dafka chaya that does injuries is forbidden to sell, which is mashma that if it was tamed and trained, and there's no shash of any damages, injuries, you're allowed to sell his body shabbos. Talking about a maimed lion. And it follows the shita of Rabbi Yehuda, who's mated to sell a behema gasa, which is maimed to a guy. And an additional upshlag to this ayat, the Avashi Amar Rashi says you could say the Mishnah is dealing even with a healthy lion. Nevertheless, you don't have a right to have chanan because stam ari, stam lion, shavahu eitz malacha, is considered maimed when it comes to work. And this is what the Mishnah says. It's forbidden to sell lions and aroyis to a guy. That's because of nezek harab. And the Mishnah holds like Rabbi Yehuda, which is matir, to sell a behema shvura to a guy, and an aryeh, or a lion, a lion or a bear, which is trained and is domestic, it was domesticated. So then you're allowed to sell it to a guy. The reason why you're allowed is because it's considered as a shavar. It's maimed. It cannot do work. Okay. Mesa effect Gemara Akasha. And it says, I'm going to show you a brayso that contradicts Rav Chanan from a brayso. Shem meichlam behema gasa, kachem meichlam chaya gasa. Just like you're not allowed to sell a behema gasa, you're not allowed to sell a chaya gasa. Even in a place where they do sell behema daka, chaya gasa, you're not allowed to sell a chaya gasa. So here you have a brayso where it says in the first that a chaya gasa is not like a behema daka. To Yufta, so the Sakasha on the Shita of Rav Chanan bar Arava, who argues on Rav, and he says that a chaya gasa has a din like behema daka, even when it gave the chira. So if you want to Yufta, Zakata Kasha. So you might have before want to bring a right to Rav Chanan from the Mishnah, and then proof from the Brayso against him. So now the Gemara brings an Amira that establishes the Mishnah and the Brayso. Meaning, he brings a stira between the Mishnah and the Brayso. Ravina, Rab Masnis na Brayso. Ravina is Takasha, stira from the Mishnah and the Brayso, Meshani, and he answered. Then, we learned the Mishnah, we learned you cannot sell lions, bears, lions, or anything that injures the Rabbim. Time, the whole reason is, he's very nazik, because there is injury for the Rabbim by selling this. But it's mashma that if it was domesticated, it wouldn't be a nezik rabbin. You're allowed to sell it. What I mean, in fact, but we have a brayso that says just like you cannot sell a behema gasa, you cannot sell a chaya gasa. Even in a place where they do sell behema daka, chaya gasa, but a chaya gasa you cannot sell. So you have from here you have a raya that it's forbidden to sell any type of chaya gasa, not like we were medayik in the Mishnah that if the Chaya Gasa wouldn't cause injuries if it was domesticated, you would be able to sell it. Ubeshani Avina answers that the Mishnah is talking about Ishovu, by a maimed lion. Rabbi Yehuda follows the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda was martyred to sell a Behema Gasa Shvura to a Goy. And this was the Mishnah, this was the Pshat of the Mishnah. It's forbidden to sell a lion even if it's maimed, because even if it's maimed, where there's no chash of Isam Malach with Shabbos, that if he sells it, then he'll come to rent it and lend it out, and then it'll be Oiva and Shvis's Behema. Why can't you sell it even if there's no chash of Malacha, if it's a Chaya Gasa? Because there's Nezek L'Rab, because of the injuries that it causes to the Rab. But the Braisa, who says a Chaya Gasa, a healthy Chaya Gasa, that where it's healthy, it's also b'mechira l'chol hades, even if there's no nezek l'rab. Avashi Amar Stam Ari Shavu Eitz Malacha. Avashi gives a different answer. A Stam Ari is considered main, and this that the Mishnah says it's forbidden to sell a lion is because there's a nezek l'rabi. But if not for this reason of nezek l'rabi, let's say it was domesticated, it would have been mutter to sell it. And the Brais is talking about by Chaya Gasa, which is a custom to Melacha, which is also to sell the Dibihako. Nachman now is on the Ikisei of the Kasha of Rabina, Maskiv Lord, Rav Nachman is the Kasha, Man Lema Lanu, Lan, who's going to say to us that Ari Chaya Gasi? That Ari is a Chaya Gasa. Dilma Chaya Daki, maybe it's a Chayadaka. And therefore it's not a state at all between the Mishnah and Baraisa. Because if by Arayas there's no shash of Nezek Rabim, like a domesticated lion, Bamis would be mutter to sell them. Since a Chayadaka is a din, a Chaya, it's considered as a Chayadaka, where there's no Isa b'mechira. And this that the Braisa says it's forbidden to sell it is only daka by a Chaya Gasa, which has a din like a Behema Gasa, which is forbidden to sell. So Ravashi, Dayik Masnisin, Ravashi is Medayik the Lashon the Mishnah Meisif to Yufta, and asks a kasha on Rav Kana bar Abba. Now we learned in the Mishnah Meichel Lahem Dubin, Varo Yisvloi Kol Davar Sheish by Nezek. We learned that you cannot sell in the Mishnah, that you cannot sell bears, lions, anything that could cause injuries. The whole reason is that the Mishnah says it's also to sell lions, bears and lions, is because the Isvei Nezek, because there's injuries l'rabim. Halesbei, it's mashma. If there wouldn't be a Nezek l'rabim, like they were the domesticated Meichlin, then you could sell it. So we can be medaktik from the Lashon Mishnah. Why was there a need to articulate lions, bears and lions? The Mishnah could have said it in a general term. Ein meichin lahen, kol davar sheish by nezek l'rabim. That's what it should have said. It didn't have to articulate lions and bears. So we can learn now. Time the whole reason that he mentions Ari Dafka Ari, a lion that's Nistam Ari Shavu Eitz Malacha, because Stam Ari is considered main. But anything, any other Chaya, David Malacha that's able to do Malacha lay, you cannot sell it at all, even if it doesn't, even if it's domesticated, because it has a din like Behema Gasa, which is forbidden to sell because of the Chash Malacha B'Shabbos. That's why the Mishnah articulates bears and lions, which are not roid to do malacha, and the mechir is also only because it injures the public. So if we find that the Mishnah was meduyik, that the din of Chaya Gasa has a din like Behema Gasa, we have proven from the din of the Mishnah that the din of Chaya Gasa has a din like Behema Gasa. So it's to Yufta, this Akasha, The Avchon Barabba that said, the Avchon Barabba that said that the din of Chaya Gasa has a din like Behema Daka. So the Gemara concludes, Taka to Yufta Zakut Kasha. Okay, Zak Gemara Chaya Gasa Mias my Malacha Avda. Al Kaponim, what Malacha is the Uya for Chaya Gasa to do? What kind of Malacha could a Chaya Gasa do? Abaye, I believe Ma Yehuda. Abaye said that. Ma Yehuda said to me, "Debei Ma Yechani, Tochani Rechaim Ba'Reiri." In the house of Ma Yechani, they would grind in a millstone through young wild donkeys. I'm going to say Yimana now goes back to the first Torah of Rav. V'negei Chaya Gasa that it has a din like a behema dakam. V'negei to pirchus. Pirchus is when you shech the animal. So by the Chaya Daka, it has to stretch out his hand and bring it back. Chaya Daka, behema Daka, but a Chaya Gasa, we want to know if it has a din like a behema Daka that it stretches out and brings it back. So the Rav said that it has the same din. It has to be in order that it should be kosher. If it's shechted, it has to be able to stretch his hand and bring it back. Amar Abzeda, that a chaya gasa has the same din as a behema daka that has to go both, has to stretch out and bring back the hand. Amar Abzeda said, Ki Avida Bei Rabbi Yehuda. When we're learning Torah in the basement of Rabbi Yehuda Amalan, he said to us, Gemiri mina hamilsa. Learn from me this din. The Megaber Rabbi Shmuel, because I heard it from a great person. I don't know if I heard it from Rabbi Shmuel. That a chaya gasa has a thing like behemadaka when it comes to pirchus, like we said, after the shechita, that it stretches on his hand and it brings it back. Amina, I said to myself, that I have a raya from the name of Shmuel. I'm sorry, I missed out the words. When I later came to the place called Kokunya, I met up with Abchi Barabash, and he was sitting in the yeshiva and saying in the name of Shmuel. Chaya Gasa, the Hikbei Madaka Pirchus, that a Chaya Gasa has a din like a Behemadaka when it comes to Pirchus. I said to myself, that I said to myself that we have a raya that the psak I heard from Rabbi Yehuda was stated in the name of Shmuel. Yeah, so when I came to Surah, I met up with Rabbi Yimya. The Yas become a lot of Rav. There in the yeshiva, he stated in the name of Rav that Chaya Gasa Arehi Kibei Medakala Pirchus, that a Chaya Gasa has a din like a Bei Medakala Pirchus. I said to myself, Shmami, no, we have a right from here. Eat with Mishmei the Rav, eat with Mishmei the Shmuel. That this psak was said in the name of Rav and signed in the name of Shmuel. Kislikis lahasam. When I eventually went up to Eretz Yisrael, Ashkachte leRavasi. I found Ravasi the Yasvakam, and he was sitting and he stated, Amar Rav Chama Bar Guy Mishmei Rav, Chaya Gas Arehi Kibei Madak LePichus. Rav Chama Bar Guy said the name of Rav, that a Chaya Gas has a thing like a Behi Madak LePichus. Amri Le, where upon I said to Rav Asi, V'lo Yisav Lama, you don't hold like this. The Ma Mara, the Shmaitza Rabba Yimya, that who is this master of this teaching? Rabba Yimya. Amali, he answered me, Pasya Uchma. Pasya Uchma means a blackened keli. What does he want to say? So he says that just like by a blacksmith, it's all black all around. This meaning, this blackness of a keli is referring to a Talmid Chacham, his whole life is engrossed in his learnings. Sometimes makes him unaware, and he neglects to wash his clothes, so that he appears to be like a black keli, a blackened keli. So he says that minoi uminoch t'stay mishmaitza, from me and from you, this teaching will be settled. So we have to figure out, between me and you, we'll figure out who was this shmur said in the name of. Rav Chama bar Goya accepted this Seirah from Rav, and Rav bar Yimya accepted it from Rav Chama bar Goya. So the Gemara brings an additional Heirah. So far we find that when Rav Asi, Rav Zera says when he came to Surah, he found that Rav bar Yimya said in the name of Rav, and then later on, when he went up to Eretz Yisrael, he found Rav Asi, who said that that Rav Chama bar Goya said in the name of Rav. So the Gemara so he asked him, "Don't you hold that it was Rav Chama bar Goya who received it from Rav?" So Rav bar Yimya, so the Gemara says, Rav bar Yimya says that I'm saying, he says, like I heard being in Surah, he said this in the name of Rav. That's what he was asking. Doesn't Rav hold that his name? So Rav Zeir couldn't figure out which one said in the name of Rav. Was it Rav Chama bar Goya, or was it like Rav Asi said that it was Rav bar Yimya? Which one was it? Rav Chama bar Goya or Rav bar Yimya who taught in the name of Rav? So Rav Asi said that I know that Rav Zera, you're a kli shacher, you're a person who's engrossed in Torah. But he said, this time meaning we'll conclude to both of us the shmua in the name of who said it. Meaning that it was Rav Chama bar Goya who accepted from Rav, and Rav bar Yimya also and Rav bar Yimya got it from Rav Chama bar Goya who said it in the name of Rav. And where do we see that? He says it's because we had learned also Rabbi Zayd, Rav Asi, Rav bar Yimya, Rav Chama bar Goya, Rav Chaya Gasa, that a Chaya Gasa, so it has a din like a Behemadaka by Pirchus. So you see that the one that said it was in the name of Rav was Rav Chama bar Goya, and Rav bar Yimya said in the name of Rav Chama bar Goya, who said in the name of Rav. In the Mishnah we learned we don't build with them the silky tall structures, guard them. And is also a building where they threw off people for judgment in stadium and stadiums, obima or coliseums, obima, and a platform. There are three tall structures: of the Mluch of Goyim, and bathhouses, and storehouses. Rabba said, two out of the three categories, you're allowed to build for the Goyim. And one is forbidden. Simon, and as Simon to remember that which one is also to build, less machim ezikim, to tie, meaning to tie to the melucha, because they're done din in the fashes in those buildings, and you don't want to participate in judging din in the fashes. Hikadami does not say Amarava kum laheta. All three tall structures are mutter. And so the Gemara asked on this case, on the words of Rabbi Atnam, we learned in the Mishnah, you're not allowed to build with them these tall structures, guard them the structure of which they throw people from a high place. It's Stadia and Coliseums, Ubima, and a platform. So the Gemara Ema say, what's the pirish, that which one is forbidden? You're not allowed to build a tall structure of garden where they would judge Yidden, and you don't want to be a shutav in that, or of a shalit stadium, or of a stadium, shalbima, or a platform.